more to get through. Carry on.
I think we don't need to comment because it's very clear.
Quote, and from his own book. And Imam also Shafi'i said, was asked, should I pray behind the Rafidi? He answered, do not pray behind the Rafidi. Also, Imam Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, companions of Abu Hanifa, he said, it is not permissible to perform a prayer behind the Rafidi. Similar quote from Abu Yusuf al-Qadi. Also, Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi stated, the followers of the Shafi'i, Maliki, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and Ishaq ibn Rahoya anonymously agreed that the obligations to repeat the prayer behind anyone considered to be hold heretical beliefs that contradicts Tawheed, including Qadari, Khariji, and Rafidi, Shia. This is in his book Usul al-Din. There are so many quotes. Like
that was invoking. Which book of Usul al-Din?
Usul al-Din. There are so. This is in his book Usul al-Din. And
whose book?
Qadari, Khariji.
Let's go back a bit.
Heretical beliefs that contradicts Tawheed, including repeat the prayer behind Maliki, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and Ishaq ibn Rahoya anonymously agreed that the obligations to repeat the prayer behind anyone considered to be hold heretical beliefs that contradicts Tawheed, including Qadari, Khariji, and Rafidi, means Shia. This is in his book Usul al-Din. There are so many quotes, like
whoever said that that's all fallacies. We have
Al-Muhit al-Burhani.
The Muhit al-Burhani.
Ibn Mazar cites Shaykh al-Islam Tawahiz Zada on his behind whom prayer is permissible. He said, if his belief contributes disbelief, such as a Jahmi, a Qadari, who claims that the Quran was created, or an extremist Rafidi, he's Shia, who denies the Khilafat of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, it is impermissible to pray behind him. So he considered the extremists to be the people who reject the Khilafat of Abu Bakr Siddiq.
Yeah, he may consider fine. You know, just what, and then what happened. He may consider whatever he considers. What's his evidence? It's just arbiter of his mind, following Ahmad bin Hanbal and Shafi'i. Allegedly Shafi'i, because Shafi'i has most likely other point of view, but he was not. Sometimes he was not able to express them, because he was accused to be a Rafidi and taken in chains from Yemen to Baghdad, but was exonerated and so on. We don't want to go into these stories. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, this book club. They always have the same sort of just. Yes. Fulan said this, and this book. And you build enough of a narrative to try and make it to browbeat people.
It's not a book. It's really adopting scribes and monks' laws beside Allah. That's it.
I mean, he does go into some other points which are worth mentioning. So I can go through it. Obviously, there'll be plenty of things that you're going to object to, but it's just worth going through, because in the next 5 minutes, he's going to go into the issue of the Imams and all that. So that's a topic for discussion as well, inshallah. So I'll carry on.
Now, also, Al-Marghi also had a similar statement. Also, we see a lot of views of similar Hanafi scholars, such as Shilbi, Al-Badr al-Aini, Al-Nasfi, Ibn Nujaym, and others. And this issue is discussed in Hanafi textbooks in the section of the prayer. It's just wide among them.
And no, for example, his main sheikh, Ibn Taymiyah, is not agreeing with that anyway. Ibn Taymiyah is not in agreement with that, especially that piece. Actually, there are 70 pages in his book, Aql Vs Naql, preventing contradiction between Aql and Naql, between reason and reporting. Naql is what's being transmitted. X. And then somewhere amazing, I think in the second volume in the famous print, which is done by Saudi Arabia, by the University of Riyadh, of Imam Ahmad Saudi University, whatever it is, It is printed nicely, like in the early 80s and so on. It's available. In volume 2, he then go to the issue of the differences between the Muslims and so on, and issue of takfir and so on. And he has marvelous 70 pages. There are some words there and bad and so on. All of these rules he put there, that all of these differences in opinion about i'tiqad and about all these things are issues of ijtihad, not bid'ah and so on. He put excellent usul, although he has some blunders and some bad words here and there, but generally is that he himself never applied in that in a consistent way. When he argued with the Shia or so on, he goes overboard and become transgressive, becomes negative, becomes almost bordering with this. Like for example, his answer to Ibn Mutahhar al-Hilli, which called منهاج السنة النبوية في نقد كلام الشيعة القدرية. He is very abusive, use very negative language, brings all rubbish against Ali ibn Abi Talib to show that some Sahaba and some Tabi'in hated him and so on, and all of these things, just to undermine that he's superior to Abu Bakr or inferior. Instead of going, so, okay, maybe he's superior, but does not undermine the Khilafah of Abu Bakr. Who said that the Khalifa must be the most superior one? Where is that in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Muhammad? That's you invented that from your imagination. They invented that deliberately and invented stories about Abu Bakr being the first in Islam, men and so on, which is again not true. We have a correct narration with good isnad from Sa'd ibn Waqqas that Sa'd ibn Waqqas was telling his son and about Abu Bakr and something of his virtue, and then and his son said, and he was the first man to embrace Islam. So it already in the time of Sa'd, in the 40s, 50s, this myth was spreading around. Say, no, my son, he was not the first. I was ahead of him, and about 37, 36 or 37, if I remember correctly, were ahead of him in Islam. But he was the best of them. See, Sa'd is clarifying that. But the fabricated story, the first one to embrace Islam from the men is Abu Bakr, because they cannot escape that Khadija is ahead of him, and Zayd ibn Haritha is ahead of him, and Ali ibn Abi Talib. And from the kids, and from the Sibyan, the young boys, Ali ibn Abi Talib. And from the women, Khadija, and so on. And they neglected Waraq ibn Nawfal, who is ahead of all of them, except Khadija. These people are jokers. They're just stuck. They constructed something they want at any rate save Muawiyah. That's the reason for all of these, and all fabrications go back in that direction. All of it. I suggest to everyone, read our Saqeefah. Hadith al-Saqeefah وملحقاتها. خبر السقيفة وملحقاته is of utmost importance. You see really what history was really based on all multiple corroborating narration and discounting all these lies and fabrication and stories and which abound in Sunnah and Shia and both sides. And to get away from that, Ali ibn Abi Talib refused to give Bayah for several months. They said, no, it's not true. This is not the correct narration. The correct narration is something else, which is the wrong one. It's not the correct one. And then they say, some Shia say, no, he actually refused because his right was usurped. He was busy washing the Prophet and burying him, and they were conspiring his behavior back. But that Saqeefah happened the first day, few hours after the demise of Rasulullah. Nobody was washing anything yet. People were just getting ready to perform salah on him group by group, which took several days. Has nothing to do with postponed burial, which is haram, because they're more important to choose a Khalifa like his. Imagine, it's not like that. It's nothing. Where was Ali then? Actually, he secluded himself somewhere with Abbas on discussing the matter. He had the right to seclude, but it was a mistake. It's halal to do that, but it's a mistake for someone like Ali ibn Abi Talib. Man like you, Ali ibn Abi Talib and Abbas, should not be secluded in a house discussing things like that. You should be in the masjid with the rest of the Muslims, where Abu Bakr and Umar were there. The same applied to the one who went to the Saqeefah, Sa'd ibn Ubadah. He secluded himself there with his people, trying to establish him as Amir. You don't do that. You go to the masjid with the common Muslims and call them, say, I am worthy of the Khilafah than anybody else, and see what the Muslims decide. Not try to steal matter in Saqeefah Bani Sa'ida, or seclude yourself in a house. Although Ali definitely was not longing for Khilafah, and he refused to ask the Messenger of Allah about that. Abbas asked him several times, put him pressure, he refused. But anybody do all of that, it is not befitting for someone like Ali to seclude himself. That's a mistake. It's a political, it's a tactical mistake. He thought it's okay. let's brainstorm what to do, how to do it. In that, the news came that the people in Saqeefah are meeting, and the news came through some people of ours, because the people in Saqeefah is Khazraj, so now that all tribalism is coming forward. And they informed Abu Bakr and Umar and told him, don't worry about them, just conclude your matter in Masjid. Abu Bakr and Umar said, no, we have to go and discuss with our brothers what's going on. And they went there, and then the blunder happened that the Bayah was given to Abu Bakr. Instead of Umar saying, no Bayah today, tomorrow is the Masjid. And Umar admitted it was a falta. It was a shot which went out. But Allah protected from its evil, just because the circumstances, the one chosen was Abu Bakr, and his bay'ah was confirmed next day. Allah protected from the evil of that. But nobody should do that in the future. Anyone doing similarly, you should strike his neck. That's a hadith of Saqeefah. Go and see it. And that's how it started then. And everyone embellish and invent stories, and made the whole issue of Imama and so on a nightmare, including Hizb al-Tahrir, including Sunni, inventing stories and fabricating stories, leaving the good, solid narration, mutually corroborating narration, which synchronized properly, and the historic facts. And they buy even fabrication and lies of Bani Umayyah and their henchmen. Especially the Shia got caught like this, that they forced Ali ibn Abi Talib, moved him like a donkey, forcing him to give bay'ah. And they saw, oh, it's a great operation. Is Ali ibn Abi Talib the type that one can guide like a donkey? Where's the Faqar? Where's the man who killed Marhab and opened Khaybar? This is all nonsense. It's shameful to say something like that. That means that if someone has a bad idea in his mind and he wants to make it true, by all means, he will accept things which stinks. Like the story that Umar or something hit Fatima in the belly so that aborted a baby called Muhsin, who was supposed to be called Muhsin, but he died. It never existed. And Ali ibn Talib could not do anything. If Umar would have done that, he would be decapitated by Ali immediately. It doesn't work this way. You are denigrating Ali ibn Abi Talib. You are getting him down. That we address to the Shia who believe in this rubbish. Especially the book of Sulaim al-Hilali. Sulaim ibn something al-Hilali. Al-Hilali al-Amiri. And things like that. All that's fabrication, very late fabrication, even the late 2nd century, and things like that. It has to be studied academically, but the disease is already there. And the main source of the disease and the earlier fabrication is not from the Shia, from Muawiyah and his mention, because Saqeefah ibn Umar, in all his narration, anything related to Muawiyah, he becomes like a superior man, the one protecting Uthman, the one protecting Khilafah, the one respecting, all of that he brings forward. It's clearly that these Zanadiqa are very biased toward Muawiyah, clearly. Possibly because Abu Sufyan and Muawiyah were on the Zandaqa before Islam, and they stayed in Zandaqa, and both of them. They were follow of money, possibly, but we don't need to. So they are thinking the same wavelength. So all these fabrication of Saqeefah ibn Umar al-Dabbi in history, making Muawiyah look good, and the only one doing that, and clearly deliberately contradicting all other narratives, all historic evidences, is Saqeefah ibn Umar al-Dabbi, the one with the myth of I think you can repeat and repeat. I think we should close this. Whatever he is mentioned is again Imam so and so. And my grandmother said that. My granddaughter said that. That's all irrelevant. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, I want to carry on.
Did they bring any ayah or hadith? So
no, you're never going to get that. You're going to get these guys. Again, it's book club. But
yeah,
it's worth going through because he does mention some other stuff. It's worth commenting on.
Yeah.
So he mentions about imama, some of the points of view, Isma and all that, which is independently is worth clarifying anyway. Just so happens to be somebody who's relatively quite uninformed. But let's carry on.
Yeah. Now there are many other types of kufr that Shia, 12 Shia have. For example, Qadi Ayyad stated in his book Al-Shafi. Likewise, we definitely declare disbelievers, the extremist Rafida, for claiming that the Imams are superior to the prophets. Sheikh Wali al-Din al-Dihlawi, Hanafi scholar from India, in his commentary on the Muwatta wrote, similarly, whoever says about the two sheikhs, Abu Bakr and Umar, for instance, they are not among the people of paradise, despite the established hadith about their blood tightness, or says the prophet is the seal of the prophethood, yet interprets this to mean only the one after him can be named a prophet by title, while claiming that the essence of prophethood being divinely sent, commanding obedience, and being infallible from sin and error, continues with the Imams after him. Then that
Stop here.
indeed
The infallibility of the Imam is from sin and error is not true, but it does not take care of the fold of Islam. What take of Islam to claim that they are prophet infallible because of prophethood, and if it's prophethood, then they can abrogate the previous Sharia, and then the deen is not complete by and Muhammad is not the final messenger. That's its clear cut. That's it. That's the only one, and that's not what they say about the Imams right away.
What do they say then?
They say infallible, they don't commit sin, and their reports are accepted because they cannot make a mistake. And it's again an error, because that they report something which they did not witness means they took it for some intermediary, or they knew by wahi or ghaib. If they knew by wahi revealed to them in such a way so that to clarify Sharia, that means they have a prophethood, and this is kufr. Or they are infallible, but this contradicts the reality. The Messenger of Allah is also not infallible in accepting witnesses in the court of law, or except the witnesses are report of a fasiq, like the famous story, and the story in Surah Nisa, which we discussed in Tafsir extensively, the children of Zurayq, and they accused the Jew, etc., and for some believe them, because this has nothing to do with prophethood. Prophethood is reported from Allah in an authoritative, unattackable way, and it's not reported from Allah. People reported to him, witnessed and swore in front of him that it is our people are innocent, have nothing to do with that. It must be that Jew. And you have to take based on oath and based on evidences available. And even they put some flour on the way, because it was bags of flour going all the way to the house of the Jews. They fabricated evidence and things like that. It can't. Prophet is not infallible that he must detect that. No, that's not part of prophethood. That's not the function of the prophet, to detect who is a liar or not liar in matter of dunya or matter of accusing someone of lies and fabrication. He cannot. Look at the story of Musa. Why did the issue of Bakr and so on happen? Because the people all were accusing each other and was not established. Musa did not know that and could not ascertain. And then he got a revelation. We'll show you how to expose that. That's by revelation. By Allah acts. It's not a part of prophethood. He's still prophet before that. That's very obvious. But they claim that if someone is not going to say the Messenger of Allah said that and that must be true. No, that's a mistake. Because he was not there, he did not hear it. He must be an intermediary. Who is the intermediary? Say someone who is trusted. So he may trust someone who is not telling the truth. Exactly the one trusted by the Prophet to collect the zakat, and he came back and lied. And the ayahs came to clarify the situation. What a fuss. Does not undermine prophethood at all. At all. In that case, even worse, he organized an army and sent it. And the way they met the tribe who were worried about this guy not taking the zakah and running away from them, because they have some issues in Jahiliyyah. He thought they are attacking him. And he did not know how to tell the Prophet, I was afraid, and they ran away. So what he did, he said, they denied zakat and came out to kill me. Blatant lie. And all indication that he's telling the truth. So an army was sent, and midway they met with the tribal chieftain. Say, where are you going? We're coming to you. Why? Say, you did not pay zakat. Say, wallahi, we prepared the zakat and came with drums, jubilant to receive the man, and he ran away from us. We didn't know what happened, so we decided the best thing is we take our zakat and go to Medina, clarify anything like that. And Allah did not interfere until all that happened, because Allah knew this is going to happen this way, and no harm will be happening. In the case of the Jew of Surah Nisa, he interfered in early phases, because there's no way to save the Jew except by revelation, and to prove his innocence and prevent anything happening to him.
I can carry on playing for a few minutes, because just to bring his
so that's concerning Imam. This is confusing things.
Yeah.
It's not clear what to mean infallibility. Is it in a prophet sense, meaning he is a prophet? And that's impossible. So even when Isa comes back, if coming back is well established with certitude, let's say is established, he and Messenger say, ينزل فيكم حكما عدلا وإماما مقسطا. He would be a just ruler. He will not be a prophet. He was a prophet. Or he may receive revelation to how to fight, tactics and so on, but it's not Sharia. He will do the Sharia, which is closed and finalized at at the death of Muhammad. That's what he rules with, in full justice and proper and ideal leadership, more ideal than even the Sahaba, almost as ideal as the Messenger of Allah. We can assume he will be infallible in that thing. That's no problem. The infallibility carries out from his prophethood function. The time passed. Yeah. So what the fuss?
Yeah, I mean it's worth understanding what is exactly said. I mean, I don't know what the dominant Shia view is as far as the isma of the Imams, but it's worth. I want to carry on just into to another 5 minutes or so on.
And that's something with our Imams are superior to the prophets. I don't know if some of them say that, but definitely no one of them will say superior to Muhammad. Otherwise, the branch will be superior to the stem, which is impossible. If someone say that, is the one for the category same. Actually, Jibreel made a mistake and went to Muhammad and said, Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's always it is. There will be donkeys and idiots like that here and there.
The Alawis.
We have some Alawi claiming that Ali is a manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, exactly like the Christians say about Isa, and the thunder is his voice and things like that. That's the mythology which contradicts them, but what's known in Islam by necessity. It's clear. We don't need to bother very much about that.
So, Berhat, were you going to say something? By the way,
I was going to say something before you're going to play the clip, yes?
Yeah, we've played pretty much most of the clip. We're up to the
Good.
30 minute mark.
No problem. Before you play the, I'll make this important point.
Sure.
So, brother Reza Rizvi is with us as well today.
Okay.
We brought him in originally. He's someone who was one of the main guys in Shia Sunni polemics in the famous Speaks Corner. Now his main mission is Shia reform, Shiism, basically going more about the methodology of Quran centrism and what the stronger dalil is. So people like Reza, people like Sayyid Ali Hur Kamampuri on the YouTube channel Al-Islah, which is referring to the Islah of the Shia community, i.e. their change for the better, their reform, similar to how we are trying to reform.
Yeah.
Sorry, but we lost you. 1 second, let me see if I can get it through to. Okay, let me just check. I might have this connection.
And because he's more familiar, because he's coming from inside the Shia camp.
So Reza, if you want to speak, you're more than welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, Rash and Sheikh Dr. Masri. Thank you for having me on today, man.
No problems. Our pleasure.
You got carry on, yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I've literally just caught the last 5-10 minutes of the conversation, and I'm trying to follow through with it. Yeah, as far as the opinion of that was mentioned by this the speaker about the Shias believing that the prophets, the Imams are superior than the Anbiya. Yeah, this has become a view. I would say that it's become mainstream that a lot of the Shia scholars will believe that the Imams are greater than prophets, but they will exclude the Prophet Muhammad. So they won't say he's greater than, like Sheikh Dr. Masri rightfully said, they won't say he's greater than our prophet, but they'll say he's greater than other prophets. There is a khilaf on this in the school, but unfortunately, nowadays that has become like the majority opinion, which is that the Imams are greater than previous prophets, apart from our prophet.
I don't know what's the evidence for that? The Quran orders always مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. All that's in this rank. That's the order.
Oh yeah, no, Sheikh. Evidence.
Being generally as superior, generally as a category.
Oh yeah, Sheikh. As far as evidence
that some Siddiq may be higher than some prophets. There's no qat'i there in that sense. I don't see.
Yes. Yeah, no. As far as evidence is concerned, Sheikh, that's a wrong opinion. That's an opinion that's un-Quranic. It's batil, it's ghulu. Yeah, as far as evidence, there's no point even discussing it because it's not worth. It's just in the.
Most Muslim scholars who discuss the various Christian creeds and so on, they claim that Aryusi are muwahhid, although Aryusi believe that Isa is a created being. That's all what he needs for Tawheed. Even he's created before all creation, and he's the tool of creation. And he's the one, through him, Allah created the universe.
Wow.
They don't regard that as shirk and kufr. The shirk and kufr started really with tathlith. And I think this is a correct point of view for many reasons, not to be discussed today.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's ghulu, extremely ghulu, but not taking to the fold of clear, definite kufr.
To take you out, obviously, I agree, because we would all agree it's batil, it's ghulu, but takfir is a different story.
It's a different story. Besides,
Yeah,
I
agreed.
don't know what means superior.
Mm.
The problem is if claiming prophethood after Muhammad, because this contradicts Khatm al-Nubuwwah, which is established with certitude. There's no that. That's it.
I got you.
But
Yeah,
they never claimed they to be prophet, nor did anyone attribute to him any prophet. Some ghulat, like some Ismaili, claim they have even the divine spirit going through them. They are semi-divine. And this is almost then going to kufr, similar to what the Christian so if the divine spirit is coming from Muhammad to Ali and so on, one by one, then it is the same divine being in Muhammad and so on. It's just a manifestation of the divine. So that's essentially higher than prophethood anyway, if it is so. But this is all unstructured, based on imagination, based on ghulu in feelings. So for example, someone was asking me in a program a few weeks ago about if the parents of the Prophet died as Muslim or not, or they were revived and if Abu Talib died as a kafir, say, I don't know what is the sensitivity. His other Abu Lahab, is a kafir. So what's the fuss being an uncle of the Prophet or his son or his father? Ibrahim is one of the worst kafir, idol worship, an idol maker even. So what's the fuss? Why the sensitivity? That's when ghulu starts, excessive love for certain family or certain direction, and then you let ghulu run with you. It will end you one day to jump in kufr.
Yeah.
And there must be, the people must be educated. But unfortunately, the mashayikh of the Shia, they don't dare. For example, I know from various sources who were in the hawzat in Najaf and so on, that the majority of scholars in the hawza, in their closest circles, when discuss the issue of the one in the tunnel, the Sardab, alleged Mahdi, they almost, the majority agree that this doesn't exist. This is a false story. Anyone there coming public is telling the common Shia that? No, they use taqiyya. Look at the Safina, where they use taqiyya about the story of Sahiqa bint Lahita, that kafir jinni who the shape of Kulthum bint Ali and married off.
You know, I'm going to make a small point.
Not laughing on the story. Then one of the scholars said, but this is so difficult to perceive by common. We have to use taqiyya with the common Shia. Not Sunni or Christian, with the common Shia. So some of these scholars are not serious. Some of them are really munafiq kafir. Like automatically and so on. Some of them are clearly munafiq kafir. So we have this here and there.
No, I think
devil's advocate. Yeah, devil's advocate. I'm going to be a devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Just to get more gems from you, inshallah, and so the public can see. Now, the Shia Imamiyya, not all the Shia, because we know the Zaydis, who are more moderate, early type of Zaydis, Shia, they did not believe in this. They are not Imami in the sense of Imam centrism, making Imam everything. Imam has control over the atoms of the universe. They are divinely chosen. They have knowledge of the unseen. They have divine revelation. Nor do they believe in this type of Mahdi. But now this Shia notion of Mahdi, this Imami Shi'i notion of Mahdi, how is it any different to the Sunni understanding of Isa ibn Maryam, al-Masih coming back and saving people prior to the Day of Judgment?
No, al-Masih is coming back because he has been possibly has been decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we believe the book of Daniel. He called him the Messiah, the ruler, will come and will be cut off from the people. Now someone could interpret the word ruler, the one who's supposed to be a ruler, but his people rejected him and he doesn't rule. Someone say, no, he is a Messiah ruler, but he did not rule at the time he came, the first coming. He must come a second one time to rule. Whatever Allah has done in ghaib, assume the coming back. The difference of the coming back of Isa is that there's an ayah of Quran which points to that direction strongly, and quite a number of strong and acceptable hadith.
What was the ayah, if you can remind me of the ayah, inshallah?
منها الكتاب من به قبل موته ثم يكون يوم القيامة عليهم شهيدا إلى آخره. This could have two interpretations. The only two interpretations valid possible is that one of it is that any one of the people of the book past and present, will be in the moment of death, when death is certain, will be become believer of Isa. If he's a Jew, then as someone narrated, as said, the angels of death will tell him, "Come out, you evil guy. The one you call the son of a whore and so on is not. He's the messenger of God, and you will taste the fire for that belief, or you will be punished for that belief." Or if he's a Christian, say, come, evil guy. The one you claim to be a son of God and divine is not divine. He's the messenger of God and his servant. Something like that. يؤمنون به, the proper iman. And another interpretation is that some of Ahl Kitab at his time, before Isa dies, and this is a better interpretation of the ayah. I have a writing about that, by the way, but I could not complete it. And because of the current handicap, I may go back to it with the help of someone. But anyway, that other one. And there's a narration, interesting narration, to be found in Musannaf Abdul Razzaq, in which the narration goes to I think to either Shahr ibn Hawshab or Abu Salih Badam, the Ghulam and the servant of Ibn Abbas. He or someone else. Anyway, it goes there, and that Al-Hajjaj said to him, "I'm killing many people of the book. I don't see they pronouncing anything like that." They say, "Oh, you don't hear it. That's when the ruh is going out. That's something ghaibi. You don't see it." But they did not understand the ayah properly. I know the explanation. It is either this for all Jews and Christians since Isa until Yom Al-Qiyamah, and he said, and when he comes back, they will all embrace the faith and recognize him. It is inescapable. I said, "Where did you get that?" They said, I got it from Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. And they say that, now they say, "Wallahi al-Azim, I didn't get it from Hanafiya, but I wanted to mention Muhammad ibn Hanafiya to make him angry." Muhammad Hanafiya is by Allah, I hear it from Salama, the wife of the Messenger of Allah. So if you take all these evidences, it makes a very strong case. I wouldn't say it's Aqidah. If you deny it, you become a kafir, but it's close to that Isa will come back. But he will come as Hakaman Adlan wa Imaman Muqsitan.
But what about the ayah which alludes to him being dead?
The
Khawarij and the Ibadis champion this tafsir a lot.
إني متوفيك ورافعك عليه, you mean this one?
Yes.
But the tawaffi does not mean necessarily dead. Mutafika means I receiving you. Now we have in the Quran, wafa is mentioned in context of taking the soul in death. Allah yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. So just receiving. So this is another type of wafa, sleep. فيمسك التي قضى عليها الموت ويرسل الأخرى إلى أجل مسمى. This is the wafa, these two types. And then we have a third use of wafa in Quran is for Isa. It could be wafa with body and soul, lifted in heaven, or teleported if you use quantum mechanics to another galaxy far away, or something like that. Going with the mechanism is futile. There's no way to assert anything except to trust that he be lifted with body and soul. Some people say he made to die and lifted. Okay, if he made to die lifted, he will be revived and come down. There are people who died and came down and lived a long
time. Yeah, Ibn Hazm says that. Yeah, it means that he died. Yeah.
Yeah, even that's fine, perfect, no problem. If he died, he can be revived and come again. We have the man who passed on a village and Allah caused him to die for 100 years, and then he revived him and say, "Kam labitha qala bitu yawman ba'dahu." He thought he is sleeping because the angels did not question him. He met nobody because he was not a final death, which will end only in Yawm al-Qiyamah. And then he woke up, and all narrations say that he went back home, a report to the people, became an ayah to the people. So he lived after that and did activity. The same with Al-Izar, the one revived by Isa ibn Maryam. He died and started even to stink. And Isa fabricated to Allah. You can read it in the various Gospels. I think it's the Gospel of Matthew is the most vivid description of that case. Also in other Gospels. And then he came out of the grave. And then stayed many, many days and possibly years alive after that, as evidence for that he was dead and so on, that he was dead and was buried and stayed there at least 4 days. Some say 4 days, some say 10 days. It starts stinking because in the hot weather of Palestine, in 1 day and 2 weeks starts the stench. 4 days the stench is horrible. And that's what the narrator say. When they opened the rock, rolled the rock, because they have caves and dug in the wall and the rock is snug there. When they moved it, the stench was like hell. And he came alive. So what prevents Isa from being taken to life again and sent down in time. This is all speculation. This is all supernatural anyway.
Yeah, I think
it's not
yeah, I
argument
think
against or
yeah.
for coming. The only argument which may have some structure is that say Muhammad is the final prophet, Isa will be a prophet coming after him is not accepted. No, but the prophethood of Isa is before Muhammad, and it is sealed, finished, and closed down, and all what he has is abrogated by Muhammad. That's all what is needed. That he still have the title of prophet, and people address him as word of Allah, prophet of Allah. That's okay. Like you are a professor in the university. When you retire, you still have the title of a professor, but you cannot do the activities, official activities of the university. You may visit there, sit with the people and so on, but maybe you are not allowed to do certain activities which require that you are employed properly and receiving salary and things like that.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of tafsil on this discussion, and that can go on for things.
That's a lengthy issue, but
yeah, it's a lengthy because both sides I know have a lot of proof.
The difference that here we have some evidences from previous claims of the people of the book, but also we have these various narrations, and we have the ayah which has the two interpretation, and this amazing hadith I found. I think barely anybody saw it in Musannaf Abdul Razzaq, and I discussed that, and it's almost completely written. If Allah brings relief with the eyes soon, otherwise I will employ someone so he communicates with the computer, he reads and edit according to my instruction. Essentially, the writing is almost complete, and they discuss all these things.
I think when Akhi Berhat came in, the conversation, Sheikh, that you were saying was that the belief of the Mahdi and in the cave and stuff like that, and some Shia scholars are scared. I think this, Sheikh, this concept of just generally ulama being scared to mention the truth in front of the awam. And I know you mentioned it as Taqiyya earlier on, but I think this is common in all scholars. I think it's just because we're Shia, the Taqiyya word gets you.
Absolutely. No, one, Al-Abbad, who was the president of the Islamic University in Medina, in a discussion with the people in which Subhan al-Abdali, who was participating with me in some programs now here, was present, and this Abbad said, someone told, this is knowledge. We know this, and they said there is knowledge which should be kept away from the public.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly
in contradiction to Allah's injunction. لا تبينوا للناس ولا تكتمونه.
They say that constantly. So a lot of scholars are scared to mention because they say that Awam Nas is going to confuse them.
The statement of Abbad in itself is a statement of kufr. Is he a kafir? We have to scrutinize it.
I mean, even more controversially, people editing evidences which are cutting the tail of narrations, as you mentioned. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Ahmed bin Hanbal, for example.
Yeah, cutting the tails of all narration about.
How dare you talk about Ahmed bin Hanbal like that?
Yeah. Oh, we talked already very badly because you came late when you listened to the video. We'll see. I stopped going deeper by saying we don't want to dig graves in this session. But one day we'll be forced. If they come again with Ahmed bin Hanbal again and again, like they came with Muawiyah until we were forced to burn him publicly. That's it.
I think the point is that this is the point that if one side is flinging mud to denigrate the other, and the other side is doing the same thing, it's ultimately that neither side is infallible. Ironically, the ones who don't claim Isma have effectively made the Salaf Isma, and today they have their Lajma is effectively Isma. In fact, later on, there's even a reference to Ijma.
Yeah.
And that's almost because Daniel actually picks up on this.
Cannot verify it, cannot certify it, and have no evidence in itself.
Yeah.
And really, practically, there's no ijma of any relevance which can be proven historically, except on things which are known by necessity, by
darura, yeah.
By darura of Islam. So it's futile. The problem is that ijma and the definition of Shafi'i, the agreement of scholars of the Ummah of Muhammad after birth, and the possibility that ijma may abrogate a previous ijma, meaning the deen is changeable after Muhammad. It cannot be. Ijtihad may be changeable. Yes, you can review ijtihad and recognize that you miss certain points because more knowledge and science come forward. Nobody objects to that. It's perfectly fine. No problem with that. But that's not a later ijma. That applies to even a single scholar. A single scholar may come to a conclusion based on more information and on the table that people in time past did not have. Let's say, for example, 200 years ago, They almost ijma, almost, not ijma, almost ijma that Adam was created suddenly from mud, shaped like this, and 1 second. That's almost ijma. Now we know the theory of evolution, and there's a fight about evolution back and forth as if evolution undermines the fact that Allah created Adam, which is not. And some people say, is it by evolution or providence? This is a fallacy. Evolution is the way providence may work. This is all looking at events the wrong way. Now, a guy called Muhammad al-Mas'ari, the one talking to you now, have noticed that in Surah Al-Sajda, say, الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. Okay, بدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. That was clarified. ثم جعل مثله من سلالة من ماء مهين. That's evolution. How do we know that? ثم سواه في من روحه وجعلكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة لعلكم تشكرون. إذا نفخ الروح soon after the nasal is from ماء مهين. Yes, monkeys are from ماء مهين, going back in all mammals, going back even in lizard, they have also ماء مهين, etc. So that's hinting that. Just a hint. Leave it for the future and the development. Objection to evolution is that this is contradict Allah creation. No, it's the way Allah creates. Creates. Possibly, maybe that's what indicated ما خلقت بيدي, because he said also نعم ما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون. So these Adam and An'am made بأيدينا بيدنا. So the بيد, but Adam is not only made with yad. You find many Salafi say not بيكون يكون. No, this is contradicting the Quran, because Allah said إن مثل عيسى عند الله كمثل آدم خلقه من تراب ثم قال له كن فيكون. That kun fayakun took 4.5 billion years.
Exactly.
1 millisecond. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. If we can't find research showing us. And also Quran says clearly, أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ بَدَأَ الْخَلْقُ. Go around and check. Unfortunately, Darwin did that. We did not do. He went around and noticed island and so on, and creatures, and then concluded that species not have evolved over time. Yeah, he made mistake in matter, did not include mutation, did not include possibly miraculous intervention, certain situation. All of that's possible, but the basic idea is very sound, can be accepted. And who said kun fayakun is and Reza, for example, was he created kun fayakun in a second? He was
9 months.
All 9 months in the womb. And in the womb, things miraculous to him happened with not nobody else. He was educated, languages understood. He was wiser than his own mother. And even some scholar was discussing what happened. Did he see the aura of his mother? Don't worry about that. Allah will direct him to close his eye. Some people go and think like, I'm saying that because I know some non-Muslims and Christians are listening to us and so on. Try to get their mind a little bit become more liberal and more well-developed. All of these is hogwash. Doesn't matter. Allah knows how to take care of that. Don't worry about that. Looking at your mother's aura.
Yeah. This is how the mind works. This is how the mind works.
Some people remind me of a joke. Someone asked Sha'bi, Imam Sha'bi. Very sophisticated hadith man. It's also a good faqih, but he denied to be a faqih and just refers to previous scholars. And ask him, Iblis have offspring? Said that there's no offspring without a wife. Said yes, he must have a wife producing these offspring. They say, what's the name of his wife? And the Sha'bi answers him, this is a wedding which I didn't attend. As a matter of fact, he should have asked the name of the wife of Adam. Said the name. The Old Testament is something Eve or Eva or something else. Even Adam, maybe not his genuine name at that time in some sense. Or maybe it is. Because he's the first one who can form sounds in form of words and so on. Maybe it's either Eva or Eve or something. Maybe. We don't know.
So Sheikh, going back to the point about the claim of Imams being greater than prophets apart from our prophet, you would say that's not takfir on that issue?
No, I don't see it's contradicting anything from.
It
is what we conclude from that ranking of Nabiyyin, Siddiqin, Shuhada, Salihin, meaning like that. It does not mean that individually one by one is necessarily like that, but that's to be normally concluded. Normal. That's not. Because we have ranks. Like for example, we say إنما حرم الفواحش ما ظهر منها وبطن والإثم والبغي بغير الحق. وأن تشرك بالله ما وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا يعلمون. So every category is higher than others. Saying things about Allah which you don't know is worse than associating them with Allah. Or this is a subcategory of this one. And then transgression and bloodshed is worse than committing zina and sodomy in general. But for example, committing zina with the wife of your neighbor, so breaking the relation of neighborhood, disrespecting neighborhood and so on, becomes a major crime, maybe bigger than beating someone unrightfully. So individual one is superior to other one. But the category, yeah, definitely, fawahish, indecency and so on, is lesser problem and in evilness in general as a category than baghi and Quran.
Yeah.
And this is less than associating with Allah his partner. And this is less as a general category than saying about Allah something which you don't know.
Yeah.
Without without firm knowledge based on evidence and certitude. That's
So
the ilm here, with certitude. What you know with certitude, then you say about Allah.
So the
Without
greatest
certitude,
evil is to say about Allah that which you do not know, then attribute that to him. That's the greatest evil.
for example, that's greater than associated a partner with him.
Yeah.
In general, but they made certain statement about Allah less evil than associated a partner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to carry on for another 5
Sure.
minutes. This
Yeah.
subject.
Carry that on. Yeah, carry that on. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's the open floor, inshallah, because there's plenty of gems coming up. Jazakallah khair, bros.
The majority of later scholars among the Hanafis and Shafi'i agrees that anyone holding this belief deserve the death penalty. That's end of its quote.
Well, that's again, we're not going to the death penalty. Just skip that. This is all rubbish.
It would imply that anyone
Death penalty don't agree that believe something like that. If someone commit apostasy, according to them, commit apostasy, that means you were on Islam and cut. But those are on that creed from birth, and their parents from their previous generation, most of them. That they are not apostate. They are original kafir, and original kafir does not get killed. It have the full protection if he's a citizen.
You're arguing that they would, even if you were gonna go that route, they would be categorized as asli kafir asli rather than irtadad.
It cannot be murtad.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Left Islam. They did not commit ridda. They were not in deen in the first place. So this is even rubbish. I'm getting really annoyed to listen to
it. This guy is annoying, but the thing is, ultimately, if we want to take on the subject, we need to go to trawl through some of this nonsensical stuff, because there's going to be a second video as well, because there's a two-parter where he talks about allying, and this is where it starts to become a bit more murky in terms of past actions.
That for a second video. Let us finish that. If he has anything significant than repeating the majority of scholars, majority Hanafi, Shafi, and so on, etc.
I can summarize what he says.
Which school agree that they should be killed? Which school?
He said that Hanafi, so
Hanafi, Shafi, and so on. Repeat it again. Let me see.
Yeah.
And he's lying there. I will show you where he's lying.
Or maybe he's referenced, because the thing is, what they do is they reference.
No. But get us the statement. I show you that he's ignorance also.
Infallible.
Even quoting the Hanafi and so on, he's ignorant.
Receives divine guidance and superior to all other prophets after believing in a prophet after the prophet, peace be upon him, even if they do not explicitly call that person a prophet. This is crucial concept, and this is why scholars.
How is it crucial? How does it feel crucial? We have said he's a prophet and have prophethood, which means that receiving a revelation to be applied to himself, a sharia applied to himself, in the case of prophet only without messengerhood, or applied to the people he broadcast to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to get to that. I think it's scholars.
Not receiving information which is not the sharia, like receiving that you will get a baby boy, be happy, that you can get in a dream. And you can get it maybe a revelation. Maybe Isa at the end of time will receive things like that. Instruction, go to the mountain, do this, supplicate to Allah. Allah will send the worms in the necks of Ya'juj Ma'juj. All of these stories, assuming they are true. That does not mean he is a prophet. In the sense which is prohibited to being after Muhammad. Muhammad is Khatamun Nabiyyin. They will not be the receiving revelation containing instructions for him to comply with, if he's the only prophet and not messenger, or to be broadcast to the people, to be binding. That's finished. That's done. That's the last one to do that is Muhammad. Isa did that before. He's a prophet before, and he kept the title, the honorific title at that time. So if you address him after he comes back Nabi Allah, you are not wrong. But he's not now Nabi. He was Nabi. That's all sealed by lifting in the heaven. He comes back as a just ruler, as a Messiah.
Okay, so he mentioned Dahlawi. I was listening in the background. I might have missed part of it, but he mentions Dahlawi. So let's just see what he's...
Heretic, Zinziq.
No, but get Hanafi that about the killed and so on, apostle.
Yeah, I skipped ahead. I need to listen to it in isolation to get to the point. Otherwise, you know...
What I want to comment is that if he mentioned the Hanafi there, Hanafi, Shafi, and so on, he's wrong, because the Hanafi say an apostate woman, not a kafir woman, cannot be killed. She should be imprisoned for life. So just drop that. So he's not even making the structured reference to Abu, which is again.
What are you saying about Shah Waliullah?
Yeah, let's get to what he say about Shah.
Yeah, sorry, I might have skipped a bit too far. Bear with me a second. Let me try and see. I need to listen to it in a bit in isolation to get to the right point. Let's see. I had timestamps, so it wasn't exact on every statement. So maybe
no problem. Yeah, just start at the one you have, and we see if it's not where you want. Maybe go a little bit back.
Find guidance,
Like,
and it's obligatory to follow.
Let me speed it up a bit.
Or is superior to all other prophets after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is considered a disbeliever for believing a prophet after the prophet peace be upon him, even if they do not explicitly call that person a prophet. This is a crucial concept, and this is why scholars, a lot of scholars have frequently declared Qadianis as disbelievers. That's right. And even though their claims are less extreme than those of the Imamis, Shias, regarding their Imams. For example, the Qadianis admit that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad
why the claims not extreme? The genuine Qadiani say that Ghulam Ahmad was his ever name. Of Qadian is a prophet. He received a revelation with new instructions, and he's the Messiah coming back, or things like that. Huh? Now some of them claim no, they believe he's just a mujaddid and things like that, and wali, and then maybe this is just for taqiyya or something like that. That other category, if they that claim, that's not a kufr. But the genuine Qadiani declaring him to be or accepting that he can abrogate jihad, all these things, that's the main function for his false prophethood. It's clearly the main function. That's what the British wanted from him, and he did it. Is to abrogate jihad. That's all what's needed. That's it. And that is enough. That's prophethood. That's clear.
Acknowledge their mistakes in various places. This description of a heretic by Al-Dihlawi applies to statements of Sheikh Mufid. That's a Shia scholar. He's the founding scholars of the Imami Shia school. Al-Mufid also asserts in his writings that the Imams receives word from Allah, though he refrains from calling it revelation due to the concerns among Muslims. Revelation comes to anyone after the Prophet's peace be upon him.
It's maybe okay, but maybe Al-Mufid is secretly believing they receive new instructions. Then they are prophets, and then he is a kafir because of that. But he has to be interrogated what he means, receive the word from Allah.
The term
you receive some wahi, but not in an infallible way, in dream. And nobody disputing that.
but not in its meaning, but and implications, and sounds necessarily disbelief.
He is struggling to get that new statement about the Imams to make it a clear statement of kufr, and he will not proper until he will define what mean a revelation which makes you a prophet.
And Sheikh, explain that. He's struggling to get the third one. Can you go through that, Sheikh? Which ones has he got so far?
No. This guy is struggling to prove that what the Shia say about the Imams is essentially making them prophets.
Yeah.
Inescapable, and this is the statement of kufr, which is nobody disagrees with that, but he will not succeed in that, because you have to say clearly what is the wahi or the word received from Allah. What's it? It may be just go to that mountain and you will be safe from the attack with Gog and Magog, as some narration claim Isa will be instructed. That's not Sharia. That's telling him a tactic in the field. The messenger in Badr was told about tactics by some Sahabi, and he complied with it. Has nothing to do with wahi. It's just one possible effective tactic. The same with and if the hadith ذهبت النبوة لم يبقى منها إلا المبشرات. Most likely إلا is استثناء منقطع, but the مبشرات are remaining. There's some kind of revelation coming in dream, which brings you good news, solution for problems and so on, but no new Sharia, because it's not wahi. prophet which is then binding and you have to apply, because none of that after Muhammad will happen until Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's finished. That's the meaning, Khatam al-Nabiyyin, the one who received instructions, either for himself or for the public. None after him will receive an instruction for him. So none after they say, I saw in a dream an instruction that I can have only 2 salah, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. That cannot be true. That's not a revelation. It's a satanic inspiration, because this required to be a prophet.
Go ahead.
And that's required prophet, because it's an instruction about what you can do. Even if it's not for everybody, it's only for me, even for you. Because this means you have become a prophet and instructed to do certain things for yourself, without telling the people to follow you in that or not follow you. Prophet only with that being a messenger. That's the meaning of prophethood. Receiving revelation containing injunctions. Even revelation containing clarification of certain philosophical issues is not necessarily related to prophethood.
Yeah, you can have
It's clarifications of factual things. The same like receiving a revelation according to that hadith, that when Ma'juj come and the Muslims are receiving Allah, this army is so massive and so powerful, you will not be able to confront them. Retreat with my servant to Atur, to the mountains of North Hijaz. That's Atur. Probably not Atur in Sina. This is a mistake of the Christian. But whoever Atur is in Sina also, retreat there. And then Allah sent on the Ya'juj and Ma'juj the worms in their neck, which kills all of them in one night. Maybe biological warfare expressed in a language that you understand at the time. We don't know anyway. But it's a tactical move. It's a good advice, military advice. That's it. It's not a new injunction. Retreating to the Torah or not retreating to the Torah is an optional action you can do in the battlefield. You will do obviously the action which is more efficient and save your army and defeat the enemy as much as possible. That's it. That's the injunction. That comes in the Quran. That's it. And Isa did that. Not because that you are relieved from that. No. That would be making him a new prophethood. You understand the difference. So wahi after revelation coming after the Prophet ﷺ, not containing any injunction relating to the one who received it or to the public, is possible, and it will continue until Yawm al-Qiyamah. ذهبت النبوة ما يبقى إلا المبشرات. The good vision that a believer see and مبشرات.
Dreams.
Yeah, good vision.
I find a specific bit where he says, so he mentions, for example,
but this is a dark and convoluted area. But based on that takfir and so on, it's just a matter of hostility and the willingness to be. I could answer this guy. He most likely believe in something called shirk al-qubur. Tell him shirk al-qubur is a claim. There's a shirk qubur is a statement of kufr. For example, come and justify. Just check the book of Tawheed to see why it is statement of kufr. There's no shirk al-qubur. Doesn't exist.
I mean, ultimately, it's the same thing.
But making a deen is a bid'ah, and the bid'ah kufriya even. So I'm going to the other extreme, and I can construct the case, but the case is persuasive. Look at the book of Tawheed.
Ultimately, it's the same thing. It's they are.
It's partisanship. It's partisanship. It is enmity and hatred until Yawm al-Qiyamah, because one party or both parties has forsaken something which will never let come to a common ground, until they walk to that what is reserved and conserved and protected, the Quran and the Sunnah Mutawatir. And this is most efficient to settle all these things. It will tell the Shia that Imam infallible, sinless, sinful is not relevant. Question, can they have a new Sharia? No, but that's it. Infallibility does not extend that what they narrated must be true. Because this happened to the Prophet that something in narration he accepted which was not true. Saqeefah brought the news and so on. So that will not save them. How do we know that? Look at Quran in 2 places. And the various hadith about you may be more eloquent and present your case that they judge for you. It's a piece of fire. Don't take it if you know it is not your right. It's clearly that it can happen.
Sheikh, since we're talking about the concept of like the wahi coming down, like because it has to do with Imam and all that.
These are confusing words.
No. I'm trying to because Reza and Berhat spoke about it too. So specifically when it comes to like Jesus, one of the narration comes right that he's gonna end the jizya. So isn't that a
No,
injunction of the
no,
Sharia
no, it's not an
in that
injunction.
narration?
No, no. أنت يضع الجزية. It doesn't end. يضع. What's the meaning of يضع? What's the meaning of يضع? Enforce the jizya? Maybe cancel the jizya. No need. We don't need jizya.
Oh, it doesn't necessarily mean like as in
No,
like mansukh.
you don't need jizya. You don't need jizya.
Because that's a narration that a lot of people say, because Mirza Ghulam Ahmad used that narration too. And
submission
that's the whole thing.
at that time, an entity or a state is shows submission by paying jizya. That's it. They have to be submitted. The case of war will end, no fighting anymore, and this token proving that you may decide that country cannot afford very much. They are very poor and so on. I don't want any jizya from them. It's not obligatory.
Yeah, because specifically, this is the only in my wallahu alam, that's a narration that they use usually. Oh, look, this whole concept of
another one, for example, is worse than that. ويقتل الخنزير.
Right. Killing the. It's in the same narration. Yeah.
Yeah. What's meaning of khanzir? I would say he will tell the people, you have pigs to be eaten, and everyone follow him, and you should not eat. The one who follow him was يقتل الخنزير. Then he tell people who converted, we have massive animals. What should we do with it? Say, we cannot let them starve because they are not wild animals now. They are domesticated. They will not survive on their own. They will suffer painful hunger and so on until they die. Kill them and bury them and turn them into compost in the earth, for example. Dispatch of them in a merciful way. That's Yaqtul Khanzir. Maybe like that. He will explain that when he comes. It's not a new Sharia.
Yeah, because it's already there's an injunction within our Sharia too.
The one who
nothing
embrace him and know that they were wrong and follow him, they have hundreds of millions of khanazir. What to do with them? Leave them in the wilderness? Would be unkind to the animals and torture for them, because they will suffer hunger and die. They cannot adapt to the environment. They will be too long domesticated. So the best thing, kill all of them and bury them. So
this is
and turn into some
just
fertilizer. Simple. That's a possible interpretation. We don't know what's it. Besides, this is one hadith, by the way. Hadith ahad. You can't build an aqidah on it.
Yes. That's the you're right on that.
Or someone could say, if Prophet mentioning that, if it's really from the first, he's mentioning he will be authorized. I am authorizing him now to do that, for example, if you want to go to the other extreme. But
that's the other ta'wil that they make. Yes.
No need. Really, for God's sake, there's no need for that. The extra salib. We're not allowed to attack the symbols of other people and break their salib and demolish their idols, as long as they're in them, they have this protection. But in that case, he may have the symbolic salib. People follow him and admit that they were mistaken, and they know now that's the truth. He was not crucified. And then he breaks one salib, maybe the master salib, and follow to another symbolic action. So that people will break their salib. Or if it is a lot of gold, they melt it and make something more useful. Come on. That's not really an evidence for something like that. If someone take that as an evidence, show that he's quite simple-minded, at least to say the best.
But it's almost like, constructing something from eschatology.
Yeah.
And
something would say.
The whole concept of the ending of jizya in the jihad, that premise was used by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as ending the jihad in this, and that's one of the reasons a lot of scholars attack it because of British Empire and all that. So that he wanted to cater to that.
He claims to be the incarnation of Isa.
Right. That's the whole concept. Yeah. This is Dajjal. That's what Dajjals do, and Kadhab people do. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what shows he's a Kadhab. That's it.
Okay. So the next bit, he's going to talk about Dahlawi. Nothing really much of substance. I will say, I'll skip ahead if you want, but he says the next point he mentions about Khomeini, and he describes how Khomeini describes Aisha radiallahu anha and Zubair as more vile than dogs and pigs. Auzubillah. And then he starts to go into Iran. So I can skip ahead to 37. I mean, it's to us.
Attributing things to Khomeini is an easy task, because most of the time they attribute to a certain book, which they attribute to the translation. I have no access to the original one, nor access to an authorized proper translation. So that's just generally. And if he said that, most likely in comment of their miserable campaign in Jamal. This is extreme, but again, You could say their rebellion against Ali and what they caused because they're coming to in Basra, and that's what they caused to the camp of Ali, instigated by people like Abdullah ibn Zubair, instigating his father and Talha, who are Badri and who repented before dying, showing the principle which narrated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet in the hadith of Badri, and also the Sabiqin Awwalin. But Aisha is not from Sabiqin Awwalin and things like that, because they should not. Or we may account here, and this blunder, because of that blunder, he did not think that they repented, and maybe he's not aware about the issue there. So what is that? This is insult again. Is insulting some Sahaba because of this battle campaign, which is great. The act there is were it not for that they are promised paradise ultimately, and so on. The most likely Zubair and Talha would have ended in hellfire. Yeah. The damage they did to Ali ibn Abi Talib and the problem they caused him is almost infinite. So instead of staying neutral or joining him,
especially Allah's Rasul clarified in Ghadir that you are supposed to aid with Ali, not fight him.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is mutawatir. There's no escape from that now. So maybe it's extreme for him to call them like West dogs. Yeah, someone rebel against the Imam and cause the result building on that layer by layer, and the problem created by this campaign, this miserable Jamal campaign, is very grave. With the mercy of Allah of these of Sabiqin Awwalin, they were
so Sheikh, what you're saying is basically is that obviously these statements are extreme, and we wouldn't say this about Bibi Aisha and stuff like that, but these aren't statements that you could do takfir on, basically, because that's the whole premise, isn't it? We're not saying the statement could be the statement's batil in the Qur'an, but
I don't think you can make takfir.
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole premise on these guys is they use these statements to do takfir. That's their whole premise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ironically, they.
But I doubt because Khomeini is much more intelligent than having that in his books. Trust me on that. This is a translation and questionable translation. Very questionable translation.
Ironically, there is later on some of them they say about Yazid and justifying his acts because of Hussein doing a type of khuruj, not justifying, but kind of putting some kind of context there, that wheel around it. So, so for example, so you've got somebody of the rank.
Even if they admit that Yazid is a tyrant and kafir, then the one who appointed him and made everything easy for him and ready to go Muawiyah will be even worse. But they want to save Muawiyah. We go back to the same root of evil. This Muawiyah must be exposed and buried.
I know Muawiyah is your favorite subject, so I'll give you a little. No. I know, but let me just tell you. In Urdu, we have a saying that we say that Muawiyah Yazid ka bhi baap hai, meaning Muawiyah is Yazid's father as well. Meaning how bad Yazid is, Muawiyah is his father.
Yeah, that's good that the people, because of their normal fitra, that's not a scholarly statement. That's a common people statement, shows that the common people understand this much better than so-called scholars.
I suppose that's from the Shia background, yeah? Because okay, so we can call this to an end. I'll see. Let me just see if because I do have a record of him starting to talk about Iran. But what we can do is, I mean, the second video. So the rest of this video kind of is a bit of back and forth, but most of the stuff we've already covered. So, for example, what scholars said, what about insulting Sahabi, Daniel responding to that.
The best thing is to just comment on that blah blah blah, or making a trick like I remember we're discussing about women attending masjid and so on. And then the guy there, he's a Salafi. He said, but Aisha said if the Messenger of Allah will arrive, he would prohibit women from going to the masjid if he see what they have done. And they said, okay, where's the evidence? They see, I don't see it. And he repeated the hadith and they said, you mean Aisha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that, and he woke up. Starts walking up. That's the only way to deal with these people. Luckily, he woke up because he's sincere but simple-minded, and his mind contaminated by this Salafi school. And then I think to this person, some other person, I did not overload this person, but another person said that. I said to him, as a matter of fact, similar situation, maybe the same person. the statement of Aisha is genuinely, if you look at it in itself, is a statement of kufr. Say, how did it say? Because she means the Messenger of Allah has to be alive to see what they are doing, and based on that, he make a judgment. Because he's not receiving the revelation, he's reacting by his emotions. As a matter of fact, all narration indicate that's not true. That's the absolute opposite. Why? Because we see that he said 2 types of the people of hellfire, as have been shown in vision, but I didn't see them in the reality. People with whips, that's the Jalawza, the police people, oppressing the people with whips, and women who are covered and uncovered, etc. So he knew that they were coming in the future. And he didn't say, and they come in something like cars, and they settle at the doors of the masjid. He didn't say prevent them from masjid. But he said, curse them. They are cursed. That's it. Simple. So show this is all nothing. This is blundering right and left and right. I was excited at the moment, blabbered this without real deep thinking. Yeah, that's simple. And we have also narration declared to be authentic by Albani. I'm not claiming it's authentic or not. That Aisha said to her father, tell this one who claimed to be the Messenger of Allah. And Abu Bakr gave her a slap and she started bleeding from the nose.
Yeah, I've read that.
And the Messenger of Allah told him, don't you know that a woman is who she's in a state of jealousy, doesn't distinguish mountain from a valley? She's blinded by jealousy. That statement's not, it sounds like a statement of kufr, but it's because of jealousy. You have to wait for the attack of jealousy to go over and then talk rationally. But now there's no way to talk rationally. At first place, no way to slap until she bleeds from the nose. That's not a solution. It's not the right way of doing things. You see the difference between Abu Bakr and the Messenger of Allah. This is one and this is fallible. Doesn't react according to desire. ما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى. So Aisha is nobody is that able to say if the Messenger were alive, he would do this and this. No, he would take the shoe and beat you up for this. That's what will happen. I tell you. He will stop you there.
Okay, we can probably conclude it here then, because the second one. So the rest of this video, there's a lot of
allegiance and these political issues. This is very close to political issues and the blunders committed by all parties in matter of allying with the kuffar and fighting under their banner. And this catastrophic situation we have almost since a little bit earlier than the First World War and even before, but became extremely compounded in the recent generation.
Yeah, it's kind of been supercharged by virtue of, it's suitable now that Iran's the bogeyman. And we've got whores, the Arab rulers are whores of the British and Americans, normalizing etc. That's they're the Qadianis of today. They're the Qadianis. They're the ones that they can use. So if anyone's not identical to them, they want to denigrate them. And Iran, obviously, 1,000,001 faults, no doubt. But not of quite the same category. Now so just for the record for everyone, there's a lot more on this, even this section of the video. So we went through about 30 to 40 minutes of it. A lot of it is back and forth. So in fact,
but I hope that we clarified the fundamental errors, where the fundamentals come. It's not taking the Quran and the Sunnah Mutawatir, the revelation as Imam.
I mean, another premise that they do allude to is that if I was to just to skim through this issue
the Prophet is also the Imam because he's infallible and he's representing the revelation. That's it. Anything else cannot be an Imam. If you put it an Imam, it will guide you to the right way and may guide you down to the hellfire. And usually if they make that the primary Imam, meaning you have forsaken the primary Imam, should be the primary. And this will be getting you slowly but surely into adopting monks and scribes as lords inside Allah. They get you in shirk and kufr. And will end then in the abyss. Like Madkhali and Jami has ended now. They are definitely sunk in such an abyss. It's almost unsavable. And the other statements are almost bordering on kufr, or they are clear kufr in themselves. And many of them, it's difficult to excuse them, but I know the majority of them are real donkeys. So they're excused by ignorance and being donkeys, having donkey brain. But some of them are genuinely doing that for the rulers, for money, for wealth, and they are genuinely kafir, like Stace and these guys and so on. These are celebrates. There's no doubt about that.
So here's one. So the premise of this Dr. Wasim was that he eventually says that the Imams are kuffar, the layman Shia he doesn't make takfir on, which is actually a concession. But the Iranian regime, because it's based on Khomeini's work, as a regime, he's made takfir on it.
No,
So
if the regime would discuss that about ruling with kufr and so on. Let's go to that their imam or the leader or scholars are kafir because they are knowledgeable, but not the common people. But this seems to be attributed to Ibn Taymiyyah or in some twisted way. But I don't think it's even a correct attribution. But individuals that is irrelevant to Ibn Taymiyyah does or doesn't do. But it shows someone with sharp intelligence and some achievement in certain areas have an idea. I think because he seems to be at that moment out of partisanship and indulge in debates in a not the way Allah ordered, as we read in Surah Al-Nahl today. Allah ordered jadilhum billati ahsan. They do jadal not billati ahsan, just the opposite, not goodly and nice debate, just a hostile and insulting debate, which will never lead any truth. He accused the scholars. He doesn't invoke the issue of Tawheed in that. In his 70 pages in Dafa'at Aql Vs Naql, I think started with page number 30 or 40 in the second volume of Ad-Dar. He has 70 very beautiful general rules, exceptional. I didn't detect that Dr. Ahmed Tawheed, who was the dean of the College of Education, mentioned that, and we were in a session with Ibn Baz, and he mentioned these points of view and these takfirs are wrong, because Ibn Taymiyyah said this, and the 70 pages which are utmostly exciting. And I checked these partly, it's really excellent. There's some words here, they are just blabbering about bid'ah and things like that. But I said all this is ijtihad and declared all of this to be ijtihad. So he was able when he did the theory, but when he applied it, he failed application, unfortunately. He cannot get himself to overcome his hatred, his partisanship, his misconception about the others, and so on.
Did Ibn Taymiyyah, Sheikh, because there's different fatwa that I see from him, because obviously he's got different, what do you call it, faces. Sometimes in his Minhaj, he's speaking different. In his Majmu'ah, he's different. So it depends, obviously, which phase he's going through.
If he's in the debate, he becomes vicious. If he
like
Aql Vs Naql studies some mental issues, he's more relaxed and more.
Yes. Does he takfir? Does he takfir the Shia, Ibn Taymiyyah?
No. Maybe some claim that he said that their ulama is another category, they are not excused by ignorance. But there's no mean they don't have another excuse, Tawheed. If we invoke that in Aql Vs Naql, these 70 pages, marvelous pages, then he's not declaring to be kafir because they may have Tawheed.
I read a beautiful usul by him where I don't know the exact memorization in Arabic, but the principle goes something like the lazim goal of believing something doesn't necessitate that you believe it. So if you believe something and you think based on that, now I have to believe this, he goes, just because it links to that, you can't do takfir.
Yeah,
you can't take the outcome.
Yeah, because lazim al-qawl laysa biqawl.
That's the one.
Because it maybe appear to you it is lazim, it is not lazim.
That's a very smart principle. That's very smart.
Maybe it is lazim by necessity, but does not mean that the one who have the original call from which you deduce that by necessity is saying that. He is not clear about this is lazim.
Yes.
Clarify this is a lazim and show him the evidence, he will step the original call.
Yes.
And he adopt both. So that's the problem. That's the problem.
That's similar to, for example, when you for example,
the lazim is not necessary. So if someone says a certain statement and the lazim, by necessity follow of that is this and this, which is a clear kufr, you cannot say he's saying that lazim.
So yes. Which, by the way, this is what Salafis do.
Accept the lazim and admit to it. Then it is another story. So attributing to someone a statement which he did not say, but deduced by necessity from his statement is unjust and improper. Because not everyone will be able to follow what follow from his statement and
from the lazim,
and verify it and so on. Many times we do a statement, we don't know what that. Like for example, the time I mentioned about Aisha saying, Lazim, he said, is that the messenger of Allah is acting by desire and by reaction, not a theory.
But no one follows that. No one would do takfir like that.
Nobody will do takfir.
Exactly.
Why did she say that? In a moment of excitement and anger. He was upset about one benefit. You cannot be upset until Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's not going to make the messenger of Allah following desire. He bought what Allah has ordered him. Besides, we have evidence that he has been shown which kind of categories of kuffar until the Dajjal will come anyway, as a category generally. Either naming some of them or not naming some, like how many false prophets of significance after him, 30 plus, things like that. And some of them are women, he mentioned that. So he's a priest about the general feature of the future. He mentioned that some of his followers will revert back to worshipping idols and so on. But he never mentioned that will be some people worshipping graves and so on, which is a slap in the back head of the stupid Wahhabi, for example. That's an example. And things like that. So anyone saying that like that, as we conclude that, that's his imagination. And attributing to the one he's saying a statement, the lazim, is unjust.
This is why Ibn Taymiyyah, this usul is very good.
Yeah, this lazim al-qawl is not a qawl.
Very nice.
For example, the lazim al-qawl of the Imam Shafi'i about ijma' ulama of one time, and even ijma' can abrogate a previous ijma'. The lazim al-qawl is the deen is not complete, and yawm al-qiyamah the deen is not from Allah, is a clear call.
You see, if we start doing this, no one is safe.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's unjust. It's not correct. Shafi'i did not think that far. That's it. Because he's a finite, limited human being. He makes error. That's it.
In the same way, for example, Sharmin Qablana is absolute contradiction, which you show in the book.
Yeah, I show in the book. I think it says that Abu Hanifa regarded it as unless our Sharia contradicts it. No, it's not correct. He did not see the point. But the point is absolute. Really, it's absolute. It's impossible.
Okay, just a final thing. So on this one, there are bits that we've missed out. I think a lot of it is irrelevant, so it's worth maybe let's just the last minute or so, a couple of minutes or so, and then we can always remove it, and then we'll need to film the second session, which will be with the discussion with this Dr. Talha
and the rulership and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we can maybe this week or another time next week or something, inshallah. This video itself will probably be 2 parts anyway.
At least as the principle of this, what he said is good. Not if he should say, and at least I have demonstrated that the fiqh of takfir at Shia is well known by Muslim scholars, and because they are doing something al-ma'lum ad-din bid-darura, it's well known by necessity that they are claiming the majority, at least in their books, this is what their book teaching, the majority of the Sahaba were immoral, and there are many other things that lets them go out of Islam, such as declaring their Imams are above the prophets and have a God. You do not need to.
I'm just going to skip away to the bit where he says about Iran regime not being Muslim.
That the layman Shia are kuffar. This is not the debate. We are just talking about the kufr unknown, which is the type of kufr that this is committed, and they are just have this, and the Iranian regime is not Muslim.
Yeah, so he clarifies that the laymen aren't non-Muslim, but he's saying that the regime.
What is meaning the Iran regime is not a Muslim? No regime is a Muslim or non-Muslim. A regime is an abstract entity, a collection of laws and constitutional statements. That's a regime. I mean, the persons in the regime, that's something else. And that the persons in the regime are kafir or munafiq kafir does not make the regime kufr, unless kufr is applied publicly and unmistakable, absolutely well-established violation of Sharia. Like, for example, in Saudi Arabia, the permission of usury bankings and protecting them by Lajnat al-Niza'at al-Masrafiyya, the committee to settle banking disputes, banking and exchange dispute, which applies clearly usury. And usury is definitely, it's a certitude established by the hadith, established by the Quran with absolute certitude. And some of the banking function, like lending for the interest, is with certitude riba, allowing that in the domain while you are supposed to be declaring war without prohibiting and punishing those who do it, at least in the second repetition case, by execution, by death penalty, is clearly applying kufr. The one doing that may be mistaken, maybe an idiot, maybe under duress, maybe there are American ships at the water say, if you don't apply that, we will bomb you in the Stone Age. Maybe all of that excuse is there for him, but still the regime and the system and the law is a law of kufr.
So with I mean, there is some kind of
meaning that a regime is non-Muslim, not Islamic. That he said is not Islamic. How it is? Look at the constitution. Is there something which is kufr sarih? No, I don't. I didn't read the constitution. There may be something kufr sarih.
But Sheikh, there's another caveat as well.
Which would establish with certitude and so on. For example, wilayat al-faqih, I would say in itself is kufr sarih because it gives the waqih wilaya over adult Muslims who he has no wilaya. Just being a faqih, there's no wilaya for anybody over anybody whatsoever.
So Sheikh, on this one, the wali concept that they come from, which obviously Sheikh, you probably know better than me anyway, but they derive it from the same continuation of imama. So because of that, it continues.
Is it, you know, is an attempt to escape from imama and find something practical. This imama is incapacitating
basically
to move and get into government, because before that you cannot attend to government without committing a major sin.
Because you're going against the
and then he rely on some hadith of riqa' which are fabricated anyway and weak in the general consensus of their scholars. And then they try to say that they say that the riqa' are, although they are weak in isnad, but there's so many miracles and so on, which also narrated by stinky isnads, prove that there's something internal. And the one internal say, in the time of my absence or our absence, the authority over you is on the one who narrates our reports. And even that's the wording, narrates our reports, not the
narrates our reports. So you know that the wali concept, it was made to make it practical.
Is an attempt to escape that problem. But both the Imam genuinely and in that sense is in itself set, but it is so deep and needs the deep work that so it's not such a thing that you can with certitude.
Also, because if we start doing takfir like this, no one, as in, no one survives this.
I wouldn't care if it is true and can be done and defend the Quran and Sunnah with certitude. I will do it and don't care if all the earth is declared kafir. That's not the issue. But clearly, this will lead that even that guy has to make takfir on himself.
That's what I'm saying.
It reminds you of the following story how the ghulu starts. The two of Berhat. Berhat is known to be the center of extremism in Najd, opposite to Aneza. Aneza is called as Paris Najd, it's liberal, because some people were smoking in time past. That was almost kufr at the time. So the two Berhat were discussing, and one of them came back from Riyadh. I took his face there. May Allah forgive us. This Riyadh, those people of Riyadh, they barely see them in masjid, this and this. I think they are not Muslim anymore. Say you are absolutely right. I say, but these same diseases are in this part of the Berhat, certain city part. They don't seem to be Muslim. and then they continue until one of you ask another, but you are saying this and this and this. Are you Muslim? So develops. But the same is you find in Christian. There is someone mentioned a story. Say someone said to them, which church you say maybe the so on church. Say is it that chapter or that chapter? So you know that chapter. Say, oh great, that's because he belongs to the same chapter. Is it the north branch of the chapter or the south branch? This guy is from the south branch. The one is from the south. They say you bloody heretic. Because the one is from the north.
They've made videos like that about. They've made videos for Muslims as well. For Muslims as well, they made it.
But I say to this guy, then you must declare takfir on yourself because you must have something missing there. The same thing. It will never end. That's one of the negative result of takfir.
That's what I've noticed.
Happens. And that's the problem. Is it must be based on certitude, and that's the reason Prophet gave us a fundamental rule. Who said to his brother, "Ya kafir," فقد باء بها أحدهم. One of them will have this title fitting on him. Either the one addressee is really a kafir, then it sticks there, or it will backfire on you because you made takfir without such an evidence that you can defend in Yawm al-Qiyamah. And declare him the kafir, like for example, Messenger say, لعن المسلم كالقتل. Cursing a Muslim is like killing him, and killing is a major sin. So declare him a kafir is worse. It's لعن to the cube or to the square. So it makes you the one who doing that committing something worse than killing, which is kufr. So all as well, because it comes from the source, infallible for seven heaven. Anything out of that will get you in never-ending confusion, like these guys here.
Right. So this
Muhammad Mas'ari said, my grandmother said, all that will get you down to hell. All the messenger said with certitude, meaning is unique. There's no other interpretation. If there's other interpretation, then we can have liberty.
Sheikh, just as a conclusion, why do you think Wilayat al-Faqih is kufr? Why?
Because it gives authority over something which Allah had not enacted. Look, for example, let's wait tell you, because based that it represents the Imam. Okay, but the Imam having by divine appointment. If the Messenger of Allah is supposed to have appointed them, himself is not appointed as the head of state by divine injunction, by Bayah. Like a woman coming, embracing Islam, Berhat from Medina, a part of the Bayah commitment, which is any Muslim had to be committed. And then he said, وَلَا يَعْصِينَكَ فِي مَعْرُوفٍ. They don't disobey anything ma'ruf. What is this ma'ruf? It's, you know, the messenger of Allah will not command as a messenger anything which is ma'ruf. Meaning, things related to halal, which is in his authority as a head of state, he can order them. Like, for example, one of them is a skilled nurse. He said, I order you to the battle campaign to lead a group of nurses. She has to obey unless she has a valid excuse. Nobody cares for the kids. Your stepmother or mother-in-law will be able to do that in your behalf. I order the mother-in-law to do that. He's authorized to do that as an imam, but after bay'ah. That's a bay'ah. That bay'ah made them obligated to do that.
The bay'ah, yeah.
They don't disobey him in ma'ruf. That's it. In structuring halal related to battlefield, related things which is in his authority. For example, when Berhat became free and refused to accept her previous husband because she became independent, now she can't get rid of him. And it seems to be she hates him, although she has kids with him. So the Messenger said that this is the father. And he was going in Medina, poor guy, weeping, and his tears were running upon his cheek. It's a big love story. Someone must make a movie about that. So, and the Prophet said, don't you see that? This is the father of your kids and so on. And he's weeping and so on. He said, do you order me? I said, no, I'm just interceding. I'm trying to use my good office to say, no, I will not do it. Because even he has no authority to order someone to take his wife back and things. That's not his authority. The Messenger of Allah and the head of state said, you order me? Because you have bay'ah, she's a citizen. No, that's not in my authority. I cannot order that. For God's sake. Just interceding. I bring a good word for this poor man. That's it. She said, I don't need him.
So, Sheikh, what you're saying is forget about Imams and Wilayat al-Faqih. We haven't understood even the Prophet. We haven't understood even the Prophet's one.
So nobody has authority over it except with bay'ah, and the bay'ah must be based on shura. And the hadith about the bay'ah and so on are clear, mutawatir, and also the ayah of shura in the Quran. Matter settled. There's no divine appointment to Imam as a head of state. Imam in the state, a leader, intellectual leader and spiritual leader. That's by divine appointment.
Yeah.
Ibrahim in Ja'alka Nasi Imaman. Not a head of state. Definitely he's not a head of state for us. He's gone. He's not here anymore. But he's an Imam. He's a leader. A leader in good deeds, a leader in Tawheed, a leader on immigration out of the domain of kufr, in leader, all of these things. And we regard him as a leader. He's our Imam. And our messenger follow him as an Imam also. Take him as an Imam in that. But has nothing to do with being head of state and ordering someone to go work as a nurse in the army because she's needed and she's qualified. And we need you for that. So you have to get out of your house and go there, for example.
They don't have the authority to do that. They don't have authority.
If the imam meaning head of state, the one who can order form armies and order them to go to the battle or not go or retreat and so on, if that's the imam meaning of that, head of state or a commander or governor or a piece of land or something like that, then this is by bay'ah and by shura. No other way is possible in Islam.
Yeah. So didn't Khomeini get it by voting as well? Shura, no.
It's irrelevant, but the philosophy there is wilayat al-faqih. That's the
yes.
I'm talking about philosophy now, not about what the state says.
One second though. In terms of the head of the state, obedience to the head of the state, what qualifies them, one of the basic conditions
if he has bay'ah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, you have to be Muslim. So, for example, look, if the character of the state is, for example, if, for example, this guy had proven that Iran as a state is kufr,
But it's applied to Saudi Arabia. It's kufr state. It's a kufr system. So why are wasting time in that? There's no difference between Saudi Arabia and Iran. That maybe Saudi Arabia is more kufr than Iran in matter of laws. Maybe, I don't know. We have to study the laws there and see. It seems to be Saudi Arabia have more kufr laws than Iran. It seems to be. But that's a matter of judging a certain state system. Say that the Iran regime is non-Muslim. What do you mean non-Muslim? A regime is not Muslim or non-Muslim. A regime is a system. Is it Islamic or not Islamic? Or does it contradict something known by from Islam? So we can say it's a kufr system. And the one in the kufr system is not necessarily a kafir. For example, when the British controlled South Yemen, they kept the sultans and so on in place. Yeah? But they were under British dominance. And they accepted to stay. Some of them keep power. Some think I have to shield my people from this kafir. The domain, is that an Islamic domain? No, because the authority, the ultimate authority and control is to the hand of the British. It's a domain of kufr. Although maybe the man there is doing well and applying everything as Islam, but the fundamental component of being a domain of Islam is that the supremacy and the control and the sovereignty in international law sense is not in the hand of Muslims. So, game over.
So what this guy? So this is the practical.
So the domain in that case in Hadramaut under these sultans is a domain of kufr, but maybe the regime is not a regime of kufr because they apply in everything else except that issue of dominance. They apply Islamic law. The Britain did not enact any law there. Do whatever you want, but we can come to the port anytime we want. We can have storage there, and we can dictate your foreign policy. So you are not an independent entity international.
This is the practical point now. So by them making the fear of state and authority, then they start going in the second part. There is a provision, because this is what the whole objective is. A, it's about allying with them in terms of if we fought them or if we allied with them, it's off the table. Or if you allied with even non-Muslims, and we'll have to go through the video, the second part, but kind of downgrading some of these aspects. So first thing, if you've legitimized it,
leave that for the next halaqah. We have to address the issue of allegiance from the beginning. But let me stress that again. The statement that Iran regime or this name is non-Muslim or Saudi regime is non-Muslim is rubbish. It's not Islamic or Islamic. To say it's not Islamic, we have to have something which contradicts Islam with necessity, with absolute certainty in the public domain. That's the provision of usury banking. Because the Islamic injunction is clear. User is not tolerated in the Islamic domain, and act of war has been declared, and even in non-Islamic domain, but in a confederate relation like the Jews in Medina, but at the time of Jews Medina, the strict injunction against labor did not come yet out. But later on, it has come, and that was enshrined exactly like the Saqeefah Medina, enshrined in the Treaty of Najran, and they have the research almost complete also. Treaty of Najran says clearly no one of them is allowed to take usury. Otherwise, the treaty is broken, and this one will be killed. Even outside, that area is not an Islamic domain. It's just a confederation and alliance domain, submissive to the Islamic rule and the Islamic control, international control, but internally, complete to do whatever they want there. They have complete protection for their churches, everything. With the one exception, only usury is prohibited. And certain injunction related how many days the messenger of Allah can stay there on their post. I think that's more technical. has to be agreed on according to the treaty. It's not nothing fundamental, but the usury is fundamental. So a regime who allows usury banking, which have transaction is definitely usury. There's no escape from it. There's no way to escape from that, whatever you do. If there is escape, show us. Give us. They weren't able to show it to anybody, neither their own scholars, nor those who established non-Islamic banking, nor of this. They will never succeed anyway to show. So that's a clear, evident public kufr in the system, part of the law, either in constitution or in a law or regulation or whatever. It's a clear kufr statement, kufr regulation in the real, making the system a system of kufr and the domain a domain of kufr, because Islam is not dominant. It's like broken there. That the Saudis committed then another kufr by allying with the Americans fighting under their banner against Muslims, and that's adding more kufr, more layers of kufr.
So now this point. So for example, if we were to say the Ba'ath Party clear kufr rulings, so then
let's get that in the next halaqah.
Okay.
What has to do with Ba'ath Party with this issue of allegiance?
No, I'm saying in terms of attacking. So for example, what they're trying to get at is if they're kafir, then it's like allying with a kafir or any other kafir state, like with the British. There's no difference. Allying with the Iranians is the same as allying with the Americans. Both are kafir.
No. Step by step. You're saying, is Iran allied with the Ba'ath? Or the Ba'athi are asking Iran for help? That's not one. Are they the dominant? Is that what's going in Syria? The issue for the Ba'athi and the regime, or for Iran? Is evidently the issue of the regime, not the Iran. And the Iranian joined the regime supporting it with flimsy argument. We can discuss that. But definitely, if we are certain that the Ba'ath regime is ruling by kufr, and this is unquestionable, that's very clear, then fighting under their banner, whomever they fight, other Muslims, even if they are mubtadi' in their point of view, is alliance with the kuffar. But they did also that in Iraq. Why go to the Ba'ath regime? They acknowledge the government that's instituted by the Americans in Iraq, when they should not have done that. Meaning they accepted it as a legitimate for the Iraqis. The major blunders in matter of allegiance, but this is widespread and has nothing to do with being Shia or Sunni. That's widespread. All these regimes are committing these blunders, and some of this had been committed even starting with Muawiyah, who made a treaty pay jizya for the Romans, and almost certainly he vacated North Africa, east of Libya and so on, to the Romans, so that he has all the time and all the facilities to fight Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is an act of kufr. So this is an ancient that's happening everywhere.
I think this has gone. I think this point is this point has gone beyond Shia Sunni now. Like this is just.
It's a fundamental disease.
This has gone beyond Shia Sunni now.
It's a reason. This is a bolt hole for them. They don't care about.
Okay, admitted all of this. He said there. The same applies to your beloved Saudi regime.
That's what I'm saying. To get them in the news.
We'll get that next time. We'll get that next time. We'll go into the details of that. But this is another issue. The issue of allegiance is a separate, is a part of Tawheed which we will neglect, because believing in Allah is the only deity and the only sovereign Lord. You are connected to Him. You belong to Him as a slave. That belonging is overriding any other belonging. The moment any other belonging becomes equal or higher than this, you are out of it, out of Tawheed. You are a kafir.
Inshallah. The next section, so for example,
other belonging is but below that, not equal or above. That's it. That's dictated by Tawheed. That's the reason allegiance is a part of Tawheed. Although some people do not see that. They think it's because the prohibition of Quran, allying with the kuffar, becoming a kafir. No, it is because we start with Tawheed. Meaning the moment you ally with someone, with a kafir against Muslim, you are turned your back to Allah. You broke the relation to Allah. And that's you are regarding this kafir as equally in position of leadership and belonging to them, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a shirk, and it's kufr and shirk.
Okay.
But this will do that structurally in its due course.
Inshallah.
It has nothing to do with Shia and Sunni. All of these regimes, and even some of the so-called Khulafa in time past, are committing that. With that commitment, which was done usually secretly or behind closed doors and nobody knows about the details, is most likely shows that they are munafiq kafir. but publicly is not seen by the general public. If it had been seen by the general public, the people of Sham would have killed Muawiyah, but they didn't see it. They don't notice it. It was done in secrecy in the background. But said an act of kufr and show that Muawiyah is a munafiq kafir, that he's a munafiq kafir for even the Prophet and sealed that for kufr. That's evidence of the hadith. While Amr ibn As may have been a believer in time past, but he stepped back and became murtad. But at least by this action. If not before that, by joining Muawiyah against Ali ibn Abi Talib. That may have made him murtad already, but this one is there. No question. That's why he banned out completely. He was annihilated. Did he die in this way? We don't know. Maybe he repented for death and repentance is accepted. We don't know. But from Muawiyah, we know from the hadith that he will die on other things than Islam. And this is the older narration indicator in a clear way. So this person is this ruler being Shia, Sunni, having 4 ears, 2 tails is irrelevant. It's relevant is this issue. So, and it's irrelevant what is his madhab. Completely irrelevant.
I mean, ultimately, politically, we know what the reason for all of this is.
Yeah.
Subservience to America, subservience to Saudi, subservience to Israel.
Exactly. So
I mean, it's no coincidence.
No, that's it. So that's all what we can say there. It's a big mess. Syria is a very big mess, an absolutely vicious mess. But it's very clear that as a catastrophic mistakes have been there. But more catastrophic mistakes have been when the American invaded Iraq and they made the fatal blunder of accepting the government established relation just with the claim this way we can serve the Muslim better and work slowly to expel the Americans in due course. And we see the Americans are now sitting like the devil. Nobody can expel them. While Taliban expelled those and kicked their butt really with people running away in the mountains. You see the difference between how things work if you have the correct creed and correct vision of the reality. And shows there are some fundamental problems there in seeing the reality or in fundamental issues with creed and commitment. But that has its own discussion. This is an area which is messed because it's related to allegiance, to immigration, to self-determination, all these complicated things, which we have addressed in some of our writing. But the other one about creed and so on, I think you have addressed that. All what this guy has is that, and also then a haqiqatu in part, but this guy specifically is Imam Shia said, Abu Hanifa said that, this one said that, my mother said that, the Chinese emperor dictated this. It doesn't work. It will not bring anything. You should train yourself to say, is that what Allah and Messenger, even if you are a Ammi, that's what Ibn Hazm advised. That's good to conclude that and we stop here. Ibn Hazm said, if even the Ammi is required to do an ijtihad, and his ijtihad is listening to the following. If he sees something a problem, usually he follows the madhab of his village and so on. That's all what you can expect someone. But if he has a doubt or need a fatwa for something new, then he should ask who is the most knowledgeable in this area. Usually the people know the most knowledgeable. The fame is known and so on. This is not by necessity in society. The same in medicine. In time past, who is the well-known to be a doctor and he has treated people well in arena. Nowadays, we have certificate and things that which may relieve the issue a little bit, but still you have to check that. Either check a certificate or something like that. Then you go to him, give him the question. If he says, Madhab Abu Hanifa or Madhab Malik say that, tell him, I'm not asking about Madhab Malik, not about your Madhab, I'm asking you what Allah and His Messenger have enacted with that. Can you tell me what Allah and His Messenger has enacted? If you say, no, I can't tell you, I only know what Abu Hanifa said, then leave him, he is not the most knowledgeable. Look for someone else. If he says, yes, I can, and then he give you a fatwa, ask him, are you sure that what you understand from Allah and His Messenger? Because I cannot deduce myself. I am a Ammi. You are the scholar, supposed to be the scholar. Are you certain so that Yawm al-Qiyamah, if questioned, you will answer? If he says yes, take it. If he doesn't say and whoever, that's following Abu Hanifa, I'm not asking you following Abu Hanifa that, or Abu Hanifa right or wrong. I'm asking you, is that according to your best conviction, what Allah and His Messenger enacted in this case, so that you can answer Yawm al-Qiyamah this? Say that is easy to educate the Amma this way. Every Ammi should know that. I should deal with the Mashayikh and the Shia should deal with the Maraji' this way. Is that what comes from Allah's Messenger from Wahi? And allegedly, as you claim, the Imams are receiving the correct interpretation of whatever it is. Is that it? Or is just You're following Sheikh al-Mufid or my grandmother and so on. It's a simple question. We can educate everyone. We should educate the kids even the moment they understand these meanings. That's by the age of 8, 10, something that they should understand that. So all what the deen we educate for them. Before that, the evidence of prophethood, evidence of Allah, so more than enough. And also the basic things like how to pray, how to clean yourself, things like that. That's all what you need. Not the rubbish they're teaching to people in Saudi Arabia and everywhere else. You don't need that. That's all what you need. If you give him the key, that's the key for the one who cannot deduce by himself. If you can deduce yourself, do your deduction at best as you can. It's very well possible that you are not specialist in every area, but in one specific area, you got interested and studied comprehensively, studied all scholarly point of view, checked all possible hadith, read the Quran from cover to cover to find if there's anything related to hinting in this direction, and you made a ijtihad in this specific point, excellent ijtihad. In other areas, you are dummy, you are a donkey. There's no problem. Then do ijtihad in that area. Educate ourselves and our children from ground up. And also the listener to us from non-Muslim who are contemplating to go to Islam, that will settle your problem. The confusing things you hear in the internet. I hear a lady saying, it was very confusing. Some say music haram, so music is halal. But she doesn't have the key. You can't blame her. She's come from outside. And she hears the arguments here and there. No, the issue of music is quite sore in Islamic history, but it's enough for her to know, for example, there have been scholars, all Madani scholars regarded music as halal and singing is halal, Madani and Makki. So there must be something there. Why is only the Kufi and some Shami? So there's a variation there, and this goes all the way to the time of Tabi'i. If you follow all the narration, so claim that, and most hadith about music are weak. The only one is in Bukhari, and the one in Bukhari is also weak and broken, and not mentioned because of music, and mentioned because of naming the khamr with another name. So, but that's very difficult to find in the internet. So I don't believe that young girl in that issue. But there are other issues which can be settled by such a question. Ask the one who have a side, is that what Allah and Messenger have ordered according to your best conviction? I'm not asking you to do a miracle and know the hidden, according to your best conviction. And don't come me that's Ahmed bin Hanbal's point of view, and I think he is right. That doesn't help me. I want to say expressively, this is Allah and Messenger have ordered, and they take the responsibility on al-Qiyamah. How do you reach that? Through Ahmed bin Hanbal, through your grandmother? I don't care. Yeah? If we educate ourselves this way, everyone, our children, then we starting really the safe journey. Starting checking out that rubbish. There are complex issues which have accumulated rubbish, tons of them. We have to use dynamite to break this hard rubbish, like the issue of Muawiyah, the issue of music and things that accumulate over history. Yes. And the issue of the negation of Shura and the playing games with that, and the claim of Bakr did that, did not do Shura, and all of these things. Umar did not do that, did that, and so on. We have to clarify that to show that what they did is irrelevant. We have the relevance in the Quran Sunnah is more than sufficient. So I think that's the safe way to go. Following Ibn Hazm advice, what the common person can do. Then he's a safe ground. Then we get out to the mentality of appointing scholars and monks, lords beside Allah, which will lead to the catastrophe of shirk and kufr.
Sheikh, maybe next week we could talk about the concept of, because that's the most critical point, difference between Sunnah and the Shia, the concept of imamah. So hopefully next week we talk about that. Because that's the biggest thing that they do takfir on. That's the issue that comes up.
I gave that issue, so, but we can expand on it next time.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about it in a concise manner.
Is it a spiritual leadership and ideological leadership, or
right.
the heading of the state? If it's heading of the state, the evidence from Quran and Sunnah and history make it absolutely clear on Bayah, and the people transfer the authority by Bayah. Finish, game over, that's it. Gone, forgotten. If it is leadership, that's by divine appointment. Allah inspires certain prophets, and sometimes by people reaching imamah by their due diligence and study and so on. And that's happening.
Yeah, but that's the whole issue. The Tashayyu, especially the Imamis, they said that the Imam is appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like it's a nas from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
So this is the problem.
No. But that's the claim. What they mean with Imam? The one who's intellectual leader? Maybe. We don't know. We don't care. If you mean Imama, which you claim Abu Bakr stole from Ali and became this oppressive and zalim or kafir, if that's the meaning, you are confusing Imama with being the head of state and Khalifa of the Messenger of Allah. That one is clear from Quran and Sunnah. It is not a divine nas. Because even the Messenger of Allah was not Imam like that, head of state, except by Bayah. And people taking him as head of state and agree.
Right. This is the issue. This is because this is the fundamental point exactly. Because I think a lot of Sunnis also believe this too.
Even that the Messenger of Allah as a head of state is not divinely appointed.
Exactly. This is a lot of Sunnis actually believe that too.
That's it.
Yeah. If you clear that, then this issue is
I already clarified.
Yeah. Right. You talked about it. Yeah. You talked about it. Because even a lot of Sunnis believe that the Prophet of Allah والسلام, he's a prophet. Also, he's ordained as an imam too for the leader of the Muslims. This is as a political power. Yeah, as a political power. Yeah. So this is the thing. Yeah, as a head of state. Exactly.
As wali al-amr minkum.
Right, wali al-amr. Exactly. Okay. But this you've cleared a funny thing. I just shared one of the videos in Enterprise with Sayyid Ali Kamanpuri, who's basically Shia Imam, but reformist. He's specific talking to the Shias. That's what he spoke about. He said that it's clear from the Seerah that Prophet of Allah was appointed as an Imam based on the Bayah of Aqaba and all those by the Ansar and the Muhajirin, not by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Even the mistake at Aqaba. Aqaba is not appointing him as the Imam. Aqaba is giving protection of the Ansar. Even worse.
Okay.
They have their own Imams.
So when did the Muhajirun and Ansar chose the Prophet as a leader or head of state in Medina? You're saying
later with the Saqeefah and so on, but this is a technicality.
Right. So it's a technicality. Right.
The fundamental point, even the Bayah of Aqaba does not establish a state. It's established protection for the Messenger of Allah. That's it.
I mean, he got to the methodology. What you're saying, you and him obviously agreeing on that fact. Yeah, exactly.
Even that is not what I think this is the one established the state. No, there was no state.
Right. The state was established after the Hijrah of Medina.
No, there were states already in existence, and that's what the Hadith of Bayah say. We don't dispute with those in charge unless we see evidence of them. So the current leadership that Muhammad has come and is under our protection does not give you a liberty to rebel against the legitimate rulers who are coming from time of Jahiliyyah and became Muslim, unless they order ma'asiyah publicly or commit kufr, which is the same.
Also,
that meaning, guys here, listen, that you give me protection does not give you liberty. Say, now Muhammad is here, we topple you. No, doesn't work this way. That's the bay'ah. Bay'ah for protection. And part of it is that don't misunderstand it, that it gives you a liberty to topple your current leader who are legitimate and not committing kufr or ordering kufr publicly and things like that.
And you have the example of Saad, who was sought permission for the execution of Ka'b.
Yeah, that's it. That's footnotes. This is additional to show this and this and this and this and this, make things absolutely certain. That's it. That's the details. But the structure is very clear. So if the Messenger of Allah is not appointed head of state, but divine appointment, just rather by the people agreeing and running around and giving him bay'ah. If that's so, then unfortunately anybody else. That's the only way you can get it. That needs to be fleshed out and developed, but anything of divinely appointed imam as a head of state or as a ruler or governor is a fallacy. And that kills understanding of history, misunderstanding of the imamah. If they mean intellectual imam because they invoke the issue in as imam for Ibrahim and imam is by divine appointment, this is the intellectual leadership. He's made the imam of the mankind until Yawm al-Qiyam, and he's definitely imam of them. And he is no more here. He doesn't exist now. He's in history. He will come to existence later, inshallah, Yawm al-Qiyam. But that's it. So it has nothing to do with head of state and rulership. Linnas, not to your people, the few hundreds living with him in his camp and so on, traveling with him and so on, and tending the cows and the animals and his wealth, because he's a wealthy man who's living lavish with Iraq. Not those. Those definitely is their head. Most of them are his slave anyway, and relative under his leadership anyway. And this is by natural condition, because no way that your slave you own will be your boss. You are his boss, so that's clear. And the relatives, all of them younger than you, you are the older by seniority. So you're head of that small community by natural selection, let us say, not by divine appointment, by divine creation, we may say. So even that, but if I appoint you إماما للناس, وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمة فأتمه قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما. Ibrahim longed for this high rank. ومن ذريتي, Allah gave a general rule. Maybe not. لكن what did he say? لا ينال عهد الظالمين. The unjust and the transgressor and the wicked from your descendants will not be imam. Will be their imam, will be no imam. That's an issue we'll decide later. I'm not going to tell you that. Even the da'wah of Ibrahim, there's no indication of Quran that Allah responded to his da'wah, except many years ago, I told him, I accept your da'wah, I will send a messenger. Although it's hinted in time of Musa, but in time of Ibrahim, there's no indication that this supplication. In the Old Testament, there's nothing about Makkah, because they forsaken anything about Ismail. He's the son of the slave. He's even illegitimate. He's outcast. But in the Quran, it's clear that he and Ismail were supplicating that from their offsprings, from Ismail, there will be a messenger to come in time. Allah did not say I accepted that supplication at that time, but clearly he accepted because we have a messenger verifying that for sure. So that's it. Simple. We don't need to indulge more than that. Rulers, governors, and so on, by and shura in Islam. In previous sense, it may be by inheritance, by things like that, permitted for Bani Israel for their own destruction and punishment, etc. It's irrelevant. It's all history. We can't study it. But after the final messenger, it is this way, no other way. This way or the highway. That's it, no other way. Leadership, intellectualism, and belief in millah, oh yeah, plenty of them. ولقد آتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلناه هدى لبني إسرائيل وجعلنا منهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا. Why? لما صبروا وكانوا بآياتنا يوقنون. Still they have this agreement with him. إن ربك هو يفصل بينهم يوم القيامة فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. That's obviously أئمة, leadership in belief and guidance, because they have faith and they have sabr. Not because they are a good manager. That's something else. That's the head of state. And we know that after Bani Israel shows kingship, most kings, with the exception of 3 or 4 in Judea and none in Samaria, in the North State Israel, were despicable tyrants. They can't be this animation. Something else. There's the prophets. Isaiah or Ashriyahu, Jeremiah, and so on. These are the imams, not these oppressive and disgusting kings. So even history indicates that, but it shows in final revelation that's the only way you can become an imam, meaning a leader, a head of state, not a leader in guidance, a leader in theology, and a leader in scholarship and sophistication. That's something else. That's by divine providence or divine appointment. Sometimes appointed by the divine, like Ibrahim, sometimes by divine providence, like the Imma. That's by creative action of the universe. They were people who carried the message, enduring, persevering, believing in it. They are imam by their own striving, by their own conviction. Ibrahim is appointed a special appointment after a certain extensive test. And from he asked for his offspring, he was not responded to, I will do, I will not do, but he was given a fundamental rule. لا ينال عهد الظالمين. The wicked one will not take any imam or a covenant with me. They are out. That's for sure. Imams for me offsprings, maybe, maybe not, will be seen in due course. Okay? That's it. If you just look at Quran, Sunnah, history, that's it. So Imam, divinely appointed as head of state, is nonsensical, because the messenger of Allah was not appointed this way. So for sure, anyone after him will not be appointed this way. And the hadith al-mutawatir is that if you put all of them, then the common theme is like that. Man bay'a imaman, man fi unuqihi bay'a, man kada, man kada, man kada. All is based on bay'a. And bay'a, since we are talking community, must be by consultation and by shura. And the only way to do it is majority decision. And so we can then conclude things and start having some scheme of a constitutional order. and benefit from the procedure and the ways used by other nations and the mistakes they have made by them in the election systems. And for example, what happened now with the election attacks in certain countries who are ancient in election and so on. Maybe we should develop election system controlled in a very verifiable and trustworthy way by blockchain. Maybe that's all procedure. It will be developed the moment you know what to do and what are the limitations, what are the fundamental principles. Good. I think we stop here. We'll go until Fajr time, which is not a very good idea.
So I'll coordinate with the others to do a part 2, which will be about allying with, can we ally with Shia? Because that will have.
We may do a separate one about the criticism of the concept of Imam, Shia, and Sunni.
Yeah, I mean that one. The reason I wanted to get
even the Imam in Sunni, like Aql is having certain mistakes and blunders which are catastrophic.